Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday, January 9th, 2024. I'm here with Mike Struthers. He's the CEO of Luca Mining, company I follow and own. It hasn't been the most comfortable stock to own over the years. Mike's a relatively recent addition, and there's been, to my mind, a noticeable improvement in messaging, which is to say, Mike is not a guy that overpromises. And those of you that have owned Luca for a while would probably agree that for a long time you've always wanted to whistle the theme song to Annie because it always seemed like it was tomorrow, tomorrow, I love you tomorrow. Um, Mike's always been pretty good about not giving timelines that were unrealistic. And part of the reason why I want to make this video is to update you very briefly on Tahueto. But really, what I want to talk about is Campo, because Campo Morado is a tough mine. It's always been a tough mine. It's been through two or three hands. It's got, it doesn't have easy metallurgy. It's polymetallic. It's pretty complex ore. Uh, Everybody's had problems with it, but I noticed a pretty remarkable change in tone late last year. You know, Mike put out a couple of releases where he was, talking about pretty big potential gains in revenues and obviously cash flow feeding from revenues. And I just wanted Mike to kind of walk us through, it sounds like you guys have sort of cracked the code maybe at Campo. So, I mean, what is it that you're doing exactly, and how long does it take to kind of get all these little pieces in place?
Um, well, I can talk to Taweto briefly, but
Yeah.
yeah, Campo is a program that's going to take sort of probably 9 months, of this year, fully. But let me, as you suggested, Eric, maybe I'll just say a few words about Taweto, and then we can focus the discussion on Campo.
Yeah.
We said we'd get Taweto. Basically, we said we'd have it built by the end of the year. We're close. We started testing the second mill, so there's just to bring people up to date, so to speak, or fill in the gaps. So the achievement of 1,000 tons a day, which is the nameplate capacity, involves the installation of a second ball mill. The associated downstream infrastructure is already sized at 1,000 tons a day. And we've got a 500-ton-a-day mill operating. We need a second mill. So, it's been a tremendous effort over the last few months to get that mill installed. And we did that. We started testing it mid-December, but the testing of a mill involves a whole number of stages. You start with the component testing and the electrical motors and the drive gear and da. So there's a lot of elements to the testing of a mill, but it's been going very well. As I say, we started 2 to 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
We'll be finished testing the mill in about 2 weeks' time. And an important second element to the 1,000-ton-a-day construction is also a second tailings filter press. That's what will allow us to go, to ramp up the production rate. So we're also installing that in parallel. And again, that is also going to be finished in about 2 weeks' time. So in 2 weeks' time, we should have both of those key elements completed, installed. And then we can throw some extra tons at it and actually, test those, in fact, use them live.
Right.
And that's the plan to then fill them with tons and see how that goes. But individually, they're being installed and tested. So we're pleased with that. It's been a big effort with us and our contractors, but it's been going pretty well. There's a
Yeah.
third, the final element is a third tailings filter press. We're just acquiring that now, and that'll go in probably in about a month and a half or 2 months' time, something like that.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is the tailings construction. Our tailings dam there is designed in 3 phases. We completed the first phase back in June. Since then, we've been working on phase two. It's actually called phase 1B. We're going to finish that basically next week. So that second tailings element, which gives us capacity for about a year and a half or something like that, is done. And then there's a third stage, but we won't start that until later in the year. We don't
Okay.
need that right now. So yeah, Tabwetta's, all of those elements are coming together. We're a few weeks beyond year end, but that's close enough. I mean, that's pretty good going for us. So we're pleased with that progress. It's been going well.
Okay. And
Um,
you've got working faces and stuff enough to get you
oh
to a
yes.
thousand tons a day.
Yeah,
Uh,
no, the mine's in good shape. Right now we've got over 120,000 tons of ore accessible right now, where
right.
we already have the access development established, and so those effectively faces, those working areas are already available. So the mine's in good shape. The mining part of it is not difficult at Tauweta.
Okay.
Process side isn't really either, as you and I have discussed before. It's just a matter of building it. So yeah, we're pretty pleased with the way that's progressing.
Okay.
Yeah. So going back to your question about Campo, we I got Senko, our partners, the engineers of Senko. I got them back in July last year. We've been running some scenarios ourselves to look at what was the sweet spot in terms of throughput and performance.
Mhm.
Um, and actually, we'd already identified that around about 50,000 tons a month instead of the 60 or so we were doing previously was the sort of sweet spot. But then I got Asenko back in because we didn't have that sort of level of metallurgical expertise in-house, especially as you were saying, for these sort of more complex polymetallic deposits. And this is, it's ultra fine grinding. This is VMS deposits, so you have to grind the material to a very fine size to be able to get the liberation or the recoveries you need. So anyway, I've got them back in July, and one of the first things they did was to reduce the throughput rate so that we could find that sweet spot in terms of grind. And so
Right.
we reduced our grind from about 55 or 60 microns down to 35 microns.
Yeah.
That may not mean much to many of the listeners, but it's basically a significant improvement in the grind size, and that immediately downstream should lead to an improvement in recoveries, because the mineral grains are very finely locked together, and you need to break them down to small sizes to be able to free them up. So anyway, that was the start of a new program with Asenko, and since then, we've been working with them for the last few months to build an execution program for all of the improvements that we want to make at Campo Morado. And this initiative, it's not unique to Campo, and these polymetallic deposits, globally, there's a dozen or so of them which are well known. They all do the same thing these days, and it's the fundamentals of it are mine to mill, a program of mine to mill. So it's that sort of, it's an intimate integration of the mining and the metallurgy components in terms of planning and operations. So having advanced knowledge of the ores that you're going to put into the mill and blending those ores so that the feed to the mill is as consistent as possible. We've seen if you look at Campo Morado's history, we've seen the effects of not doing that in the past. And as we've spoken before, I mean, Campo Morado had a very good year in 2021. The mine generated something like more than $30 million worth of operating profit. 2022 was a poor year, and I've spoken to this before. 2022, what happened then was a good example of what happens when you don't follow those sorts of practices. So in 21, with a good year, they'd been operating in a very large zinc ore body with consistent mineralogy. So the feed to the plant was consistent. Everything was fairly steady. So the plant did well. They reached the edges of that ore body early in 22. The mineralogy changed. I had a lot more iron. It affected the grinding. The operation sort of had a oh dear moment and went to switch to another ore body to supplement the feed. But that ore body was copper rich. The plant wasn't configured for it. And so you have a decline in performance. And basically all of that occupied the first half of 22, which was, the reason why the mine didn't perform so well.
Right.
So that's just a historical sort of, context and an example of how not to operate a mine like Campo Morado. And
Right.
previous administrations had the attitude that it was all about tons. They just threw volume at the plant. And so volume in terms of concentrate came out the other end, but of lower quality. The key to operating in a mine like Campo Morado is quality and consistency. So the initiatives, there's various parts to the initiative. Starting at the mining end, advanced knowledge of the metallurgy or the mineralogy of the ore bodies. At the moment, in our production plans for this year, we're mining in 4 different ore zones. Each of them has got some different characteristics. Some are sort of relatively zinc silver rich, some are zinc copper silver rich, some are copper rich, etc. So we can do a bit of plug and play there, just depending on our own preferences or market conditions in terms of metals we focus on. But ultimately, what we need to do is blend those ores from the mine to make as consistent a feed as possible, as I said, to the mill. And
Right.
that's one of the most important things you can do here, because the mill then operates under stable conditions. It is not being very reactive all the time to changing mineralogy. And that's one of the keys. We've got some parts of that initiative is also looking at our technical services functions in the mines to make sure we've got the guys who are looking at the right things in terms of forward planning. We carefully daily monitor the blend now, and so we've got stockpiles on surface both near the mine. We've got another stockpile up by the crushing circuit, and we've organised the way we manage those stockpiles to make sure the blending is done effectively. All of those things are key from the mining side, making sure that we're actually operating in some good quality ores at the moment, making sure that our drilling resources are in good order, and we've got drilled stocks ahead of us and things like that, so that we're able to maintain that blend. On the process side, we know that we've demonstrated, not just in the laboratory but in the plant, that we can achieve the grinding that we need, and we can tailor that to suit the different materials. Right now, we don't need to go quite so fine, because we're not trying to do a separation of copper and lead. We are focused right now on selling a zinc concentrate and a bulk, what we're calling a bulk concentrate, which is effectively what we call in the industry a dirty copper. It's copper with some lead involved, contained, right? But we sell it as a copper concentrate. The ultimate goal of the project is to achieve a clean copper lead separation. And at the moment, we're doing test work with ALS in Canada to work out the best flow sheet and reagents, etc., for achieving that copper lead separation. So the plan with Ausenco is a number of stages to it, and we're being conservative in terms of our expectations there to achieve improvements in recoveries and concentrate grades progressively through the year with different initiatives.
Okay.
So for example, on the flotation side of things, upgrading our reagent dosing systems, automating, a lot of more automation being put back into the plant as it was originally designed, which has fallen away over the years through a lack of maintenance, what have you. Making sure our air controls on the flotation, lots of technical stuff like that, which is really, but a lot of it is about back to basics. A lot of it is not rocket science. It's doing things the right way. And so in the first phase, which we've actually called it back to basics, there's a big element of operator training. There's a big people dimension to making sure that people know how to respond to changing conditions in the plant. But the ultimate goal, as I said, is to get that copper lead separation. because then we're selling three clean concentrates. We get then the full credit for the lead contents that we have. We can sell a clean copper concentrate without any penalties involved. We obviously get the precious metals credits from all three. So it's a much better outcome. But our expectations, I said, in the plans and the sort of forecasting, the budgets we're doing is to see a series of stages of those improvements. And there's not enough time to go through all that now. It's quite a comprehensive program we've put together. It'll probably see us going into Q3 to realize all of those gains. Ausenco are going to be back on site end of this week again. We've sort of effectively operating a rotation with them. They come in and when they're there, they basically operate the plant, with our crews. When they're off site, they get basically live data from the plant. So even when they're not there, they're intimately involved in the plant operations. So it's a very important relationship with us, and they're doing a super job.
Well, you talked about this, I think, in November, but just so people get some sense of the end game here, what sort of, because recoveries have always been the issue at Campbell. What sort of increases in recoveries are you targeting for the different metals?
So we're right now. Well, let's talk about this, the two cons we're doing right now, and then we can talk about the split. So the zinc concentrate, historically we were getting about a 76% recovery and a concentrate grade of about 46, 47%. The minimum from a commercial point of view is about 45. That's what our contracts, offtake contracts require. Actually, improving zinc recovery is one of the easier things to do, and we're getting quite consistently getting 50% zinc grades and about 80% recovery. So we've seen some improvement points there on both recoveries and grade, and we're able to keep that performance quite consistent. And we're doing that right now. This isn't just in the laboratory; we're actually doing it in the plant. So that's what we're achieving right now.
Yeah.
On the bulk side. So effectively, I can call it a copper concentrate. Historically, we've been getting in the range of about 13 or so, 12 to 13% copper content. But recoveries is the big story there. Our recoveries traditionally have been in the range of about 45% or so.
Right.
And now we're able to consistently get in the range of 65 to 75. So let's say an average of about 70%. So a massive leap in our copper recoveries. And our grades are now in the range of about 15 to 16%. So a few points on copper content. Ultimately, we're aiming for about 25% on our copper. Probably keep the recoveries at around the 70% mark, 70 to 75. But get the copper grade up to about 25%, which is normal full commercial grades for copper without any sort of penalties or deleterious elements.
Okay.
And that's when we'll produce a clean copper concentrate and also a clean lead concentrate. So yeah, it's in terms of zinc, we're all already basically there, and one of the really reassuring things that's happened, we've seen just in the last few weeks is that we've had a period of lower grade in the mine because we've had to upgrade our long hole drilling resources. Our equipment needed some upgrades, so we've been sorting that out. When we don't have full long hole capabilities, then we're not so able to generate the grades that we need to in the mine. It's a function of where we can drill and the tons that we're able to produce. So we've had a period recently of where the grades, the zinc particularly fell down to around sort of lower twos, 2 to 2.5, instead of being in the range of sort of 3.5. But despite the lower grades, it hasn't really impacted on plant performance at all. We've seen quite consistent plant performance at the sort of grades and recoveries and concentrate grades that I was talking to. So even with lower grades, that's been very encouraging because it means when we're back now, coming back on to putting in better grade material, the recoveries will be even better. There are grade recovery relationships that are important.
And just to give people a sort of a big arm wave number, I guess, if you will, all these things get put into place over the next few months. What what sort of cumulative impact are we talking about on revenues there?
Well, I don't want to sort of get into cash flow forecasts now. We're in the process of finalizing all our plans and budgets for the year. Literally doing that right now. But it's a dramatic turnaround for the mine. For an operation that, depending on feed grades, has been floating around break even, we'll be doing significantly better than that. It's a phased program, as I said, but our expectations is this is going to have a big impact on Campo's profitability, and as I said at the beginning, it's consistency. To be able, from a business point of view, you need the assets to be performing in a consistent and predictable manner, so that you can build your business plans and everything around that performance. If it's erratic, you're not able to do proper planning. So for us, as I've said before, I think this is the first time in the mine's history that we actually understand properly how to operate Campo Dorado consistently and profitably. And that's the real breakthrough. That is a huge change, and that's what we're really excited about. It's going to have a big impact on our cash flows from the mine. We've got in parallel, we're running some cost reduction programs now. Metal prices have recovered a little. The zinc has come back from where it was earlier during last year, the middle of last year. We're getting ourselves into a really good, strong position for Campo Dorado. It's going to make a big impact on our bottom line there, but it's a progressive program. Once we see a bit more progress, I mean, I do want to keep people more informed about our progress at Campo Dorado.
Yeah.
So we'll be pushing out more sort of regular updates. Not long news releases, but just short
Yeah.
snippets to say this is what we're doing. This is how it's gone this month or this week or whatever, and just to keep people more aware of progress. But I know inevitably we take a bit of a jump when the Senko are back on site, because they come to not just to work with our guys, but actually they come to achieve certain outcomes. We've got an instrumentation group, for example, coming this time to upgrade all of our process control software and things. So there's, each time we do that, we take one of those little steps, incremental steps along that sort of improvement path. So I'd be happy to share some of those incremental changes that as we realize them over the next few weeks and months.
Yeah. But I mean, hopefully Q2, certainly Q3, but hopefully even Q2, we start seeing this in the financials. I mean,
Yeah, at the moment that jump, the rest is incremental. I mean, we had the jump in the beginning, which was sort of in Q3, 4 last year, an improvement. And the next big jump is, as I say, when we get that copper lead separation. At the moment, we're conservatively assuming that's going to be in the middle of the year, around June. So in Q3, we should see another jump in improvements, particularly on the copper side and the copper lead separation. So our plans see us producing separate copper lead concentrates in Q3. Between now and then, it's sort of continued incremental improvements, as we follow the program.
okay. And then Colorado gets to 1,000 tons a day into Q2, something like that. I mean,
Well, yeah, we'll see how that goes. The mine's all ready to go. We want to be sure that when we're testing all the gear, that everything is properly optimized at those levels. So I'm sort of keeping powder dry a little bit there. I just want to see everything, the whole the integrated surface, all the infrastructure, the plant related infrastructure, that everything is basically optimized to operate at those levels. So we'll be testing the mill, as I said, in a couple of weeks' time. We'll be throwing some tons into it. we've operated it at low tonnages already as part of the testing program. And we also, when you're testing these mills, you gradually increase the number of balls in the mill, what we call the ball charge. So we're operating at quite low ball charges right now, and we'll be phasing that up as well. Um, the expectations is that we are going to be ramping up at a reasonable rate, but I want to make sure that the whole system is optimized for that level of output. So, it's important to get all of that right so that when we are operating at those levels, we can do it consistently again.
Okay. Well, I mean,
It's been going very well. It's been going well. And the guys at site have been doing a good job. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, there you have it, folks. I mean, between Tahueto, but I mean, really, I think almost more importantly, Campo. But between the two mines, we should over the next, let's just say 6 to 9 months, keep it vaguish, uh, see very significant revenue increases, like quite large, like not. And this is me talking, not Mike, but it's not going to be low. It's not going to be low double digits between the two. It should be high double digits. So we should see a real step change in the finances here over the next several months. Those of us that are being patient, uh, I think we finally start getting rewarded, and the kind of numbers that Luca's talking about with revenue increases. I mean, obviously the presumption is that flows through to cash flow, and the impacts are pretty significant. So I've got pretty high hopes this is going to be a very good year for Luca. So if you're not paying attention now, you should start, because this is where things should start getting better over the next few months. It's Luca Mining, LUCA on the venture, and LUCMF on, I believe it's QX in the US. Um, Looks like things are finally turning around after I know it's been a long haul for you, Mike, but
Yeah.
looks like all this stuff is finally starting to come together.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. It's an exciting time. This year is going to be a good year for us.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for the update.
Thanks for your time. Good to talk to you again.
Okay.